Right now, on To The Point. Kevin Kiley versus Richard Pan, the high-stakes showdown for Congress, and sharp accusations tonight. Several initiatives qualified for the November ballot this week, so why are proponents already pulling them? A man leads Sacramento police on a wild chase in one of their own patrol cars. How and where it all ended. On the back roads.
Hey, don't be scared to get dirty.
This is a dirty job.
A trip to an old mining town where everyone has a chance to strike gold. The race to represent California's 6th Congressional District is getting contentious tonight. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Becca Habiger. Now, here are the latest results for Independent Congressman Kevin Kiley and Democrat Dr. Richard Pan. The two will face off in November. Kiley has released a new website attacking his opponent. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen is here to explain the latest in the race and a response from both sides.
Well, Becca, both Kiley and Pan are experienced politicians, and they're both using that against one another. Congressional District 6 was drastically redrawn under Prop 50. Both are trying to convince voters that they're fit for the job.
Richard Pan is a science denier, and it is dangerous to have individuals like that in public office.
Independent Congressman Kevin Kiley says his opponent, Democrat Dr. Richard Pan, is unfit to represent California's 6th Congressional District. Kiley says it's due to Pan's history in the state legislature and work during the COVID-19 pandemic.
This is about protecting the ability of parents to do what is best for their kids. And Richard Pan led the charge in keeping our schools closed in California longer than any other state in the country.
Kiley currently represents District 3 and won that seat as a Republican. Following Prop 50's passage, he left the GOP and became independent, clashing with the idea of gerrymandering on all levels. Now he's trying to convince voters in a heavily Democratic redrawn District 6 that he can win voters from all parties and believes his digs into Pan are bipartisan issues.
This website is something that reflects that and is based upon principles that everyone shares, that we should respect the rights of parents.
Dr. Pan served in the state assembly and Senate and is a pediatrician. He touts his success on bringing down the cost of insulin and authoring legislation focused on health. Pan declined an interview with ABC 10 for this story, but openly criticized Kiley during an event this week.
Families here in the 6th District struggle with the increasing cost of food, gas above $6 a gallon, and draconian cuts to their health care. These are the results of Kevin Kiley's unquestioning support of Donald Trump's extremist Project 2025 agenda.
Honing in on the fact that Kiley voted to pass H.R. 1, also known as President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill.
He voted to take food away from hungry families by making cuts to SNAP, including cuts to food for pregnant women and children on WIC.
Ballots are still being counted, but only a few thousand votes currently separate Pan and Kiley in the recent primary election. How voters are feeling going into this general election is yet to be seen.
And Pan's spokesperson provided ABC 10 with a statement today that says, in part, quote, Kiley is desperately trying to hide his truly extreme record from voters, including ripping away health care from over 44,000 people in this district. Of course, Pan is referring to the Big Beautiful Bill. Now, in response, Kiley tells me that was a part of the legislation where he did not agree with Republicans and fought to increase Medicaid spending. Becca.
Jeannie, thanks so much. Well, Silicon Valley donors poured tens of millions of dollars into California races this year, hoping to boost so-called radical centrist candidates, but results were mixed. Some tech-backed legislative candidates won, while higher-profile candidates, including Matt Mahan in the governor's race, fell short. Political observers say voters may be growing more skeptical of big money and the tech industry's influence in politics.
We don't have great data on all the nuances of how voters decide to ultimately to pull the lever. There's a lot of skepticism of tech money and tech moving into the realm of politics and becoming more and more powerful.
The next major test could come in November when voters weigh a proposed billionaire tax measure that supporters say would address inequality, while opponents warn could further divide the state. And meanwhile, several ballot initiatives qualified for the November ballot this week. They're already causing a lot of debate. ABC 10 political reporter Jenny Huh has the story.
You get frustrated voters, you get frustrated special interests, and they can't get what they want from the legislature. but they figure, well, they'll go to the people.
That has been the political sway of ballot initiatives in California, a way to bypass the legislature and let voters decide. Political analysts say while the process is expensive, it's effective.
If they can't get legislation, they figure, well, we can buy it perhaps through the ballot box.
Take the dueling initiatives between Uber and Consumer Attorneys of California, which pit rideshare companies against trial lawyers, both groups carrying significant political weight, according to analysts. Uber's measure to cap attorneys' fees in auto accidents, as well as CAOC's counter-initiative to hold Uber more accountable in sexual assault cases, both just qualified for the November ballot. But the two have reached a compromise with each other and the legislature, agreeing to withdraw their respective measures if they can get a deal through the legislature.
Engage in conversations with those who have qualified for the ballot to say, is there a possibility for compromise? Obviously, the legislature felt that there was too much at stake here.
Legislators have been allowed to do that since 2014, and analysts say about a dozen such deals have been reached since. Uber and CAOC saying in a joint statement in part, quote, both sides agree Californians deserve a system that's safe, fair, and accountable. We look forward to working with the California legislature to pass this legislation.
Negotiate a legislative compromise that wouldn't otherwise be available to them.
There's also the contentious Billionaires Tax Initiative, a one-time 5% tax on California's more than 200 billionaires to raise money to offset federal funding cuts for healthcare. Newsom has already strongly opposed the tax, which is also qualified for the ballot. The union behind it, SEIU-UHW, telling Newsom they're willing to compromise to a 2% tax.
It seemed like the idea of compromise was always a possibility.
It easily could be considered a bargaining chip, and by design. You put forward a very strong ballot measure that many people would think is onerous, for example, and then you're willing to either settle for some legislation that tones it down.
Jenny Huh, ABC 10.
A source familiar with the measure says the group is prepared to withdraw the initiative if the governor identifies a way to backfill federal cuts. As for the dueling measures between Uber and Consumer Attorneys of California, the two parties are collaborating on a bill to present to the legislature, and the deadline to withdraw a ballot measure is Thursday, June 25th. Well, a state bill is one step closer to making it easier for Californians, regardless of immigration status, to sue federal agents for civil rights violations. Democratic Senator Scott Wiener is behind Senate Bill 747. He introduced it about a year ago. The Senate passed it, and this week it was approved by the Assembly Judiciary Committee. The Department of Homeland Security says agents have federal immunity to conduct duties, and anyone who tries to obstruct is committing a felony.
What can you do when an ICE agent is abusive? Well, you're supposed to bring actions like under something called the Federal Tort Claims Act. Those have not been successful. That's why the state legislature is trying to do something on its own.
Senator Wiener is hoping the bill will reach the governor's desk by the end of August. If signed, it will go into effect immediately, giving Californians, regardless of immigration status, a stronger voice in court. Still ahead on To The Point, talks between the U.S. and Iran are on hold tonight. The new demand from Iran and the growing doubts about a lasting ceasefire. And later, John Bartel takes us on the back roads where history comes alive with a modern-day hunt for gold.
Well, Sacramento didn't make it out of the 70s this afternoon, but it is going to be warmer as we head through the weekend. I'll talk about that after the break, plus the stripes on my tie in just a few minutes.
But first, in other headlines tonight,
that suspect did access a Sacramento police vehicle.
A man is in custody after allegedly stealing a police car and leading officers on a chase down Highway 99. According to Sacramento police, officers responded to reports of vandalism near Marysville Boulevard. The suspect managed to drive off in a police car when officers tried to detain him. The chase ended near Lodi. A big surprise at the Obama Presidential Center today. The first visitors were greeted by former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. The Obamas also read to children. Now, one thing you won't find on site, an actual presidential library. The Barack Obama Presidential Library is the first to go all digital. James Burrows, the director behind iconic TV comedies like Cheers, Taxi, and Friends, has died. His family said he passed away peacefully surrounded by loved ones. Burrows directed more than 1,000 TV episodes and was known for his kindness and generosity. He was 85 years old. Well, it's almost time to say goodbye to spring. The summer solstice is Sunday. It marks the astronomical start of the season. It's also the longest day of the year in terms of hours of sunshine, not in terms of the latest sunset. Of course, it didn't feel like summer today with the mild temperatures in downtown Sacramento. ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchef joins us now. Brendan, how warm or cool did it get today in Sacramento?
Yeah, not warm at all. 79 was the high temperature today in the capital city. 82 in Stockton, 83 down in Modesto, and some 70s in the foothills. So, you know, it has not felt like spring for much of this month. We've hit triple digits. We've been in the 90s a lot. Well, in the final couple days of spring, we were in the 70s, about 5 to 10 degrees across Northern California, cooler than normal. 77 right now in Sacramento, 76 in Stockton, 81 in Modesto, 83 Colusa and Oroville, 72 in Truckee, and 69 in Tahoe. The wind onshore, not as strong as it was yesterday, but nonetheless, it's been breezy all day. Sustained winds about 15 to 20 miles per hour across the valley and delta. So we look towards the Tower Bridge, 77 degrees, clear skies, and again, those winds 15 miles per hour out of the delta, clear skies through the overnight, and we'll actually drop into those middle 50s on Saturday morning. So a cool start. 55 Sacramento, 53 Stockton, 56 in Modesto, 54 in Vacaville, 57 out along the coast, and we'll have a pretty thick marine layer out along the coast that's going to try to work its way in through the delta on Saturday morning. Warming again tomorrow. We're back in those mid 80s in the valley, mid 70s in the high country, and while we did have some storms today, mainly on the eastern slope, tomorrow plenty of sunshine across Northern California at all elevations, whether you're in the valley or in the Sierra. But as we go through the weekend, you do note temperatures warming up. Mid 80s tomorrow, low 90s on Sunday, back in the 90s, the mid 90s by the time we get to Monday. So I promised the stripes in my tie, the climate stripes. Blue is for cooler than normal years. Red is for warmer than normal years. And that starts back at 1850 and goes through last year. Notice there's a lot more red on one side than the other. That's because our top 10 global hottest years on record have all happened since 2015, within the last decade, and things continue to get even warmer. So since 1850 and the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, you can see how our temperature baseline has been shifting, now almost 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer than the 20th century baseline. That's what the story of the climate stripes are. Remember, though, climate different than weather. So even though things are warming up across the globe, the weather this week is getting warmer day by day across Northern California. Becca.
Brendan, thanks so much. Well, coming up, a look at Juneteenth celebrations across the nation. And President Trump unveils a new Air Force One, a luxury jet donated by another country. Talks in Switzerland between the U.S. and Iran to finalize a deal to end the war were put on hold today. This after Iranian officials called for guarantees that Israel would stop attacks in Lebanon. Karen Kaifa has the details from Washington.
Facing bipartisan criticism over the U.S. agreement with Iran, President Donald Trump on social media Friday said Iran is, quote, finished. But Vice President J.D. Vance called off a weekend trip to Switzerland for more negotiations with Iran, even as multiple sources report a renewed ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, an agreement viewed with skepticism by some experts.
I think it's naive to think that Israel is going to do something that's not in its interest, or that Hezbollah is going to do something that's not in its interest unless they are compelled to.
As part of the framework signed Wednesday, the U.S. and Iran committed to a final deal to end the war within 60 days. But a diplomat with knowledge of the matter said Friday that Iran asked for guarantees Israeli hostilities in Lebanon would end before resuming talks with the U.S. On Thursday, Vance criticized Israel's operations in Lebanon as undermining the peace process.
What the president gets grown frustrated sometimes is that we seem to be right on the cusp of a major breakthrough in the agreement, and then all of a sudden there's a major explosion that goes off in a civilian population center in Beirut, and a lot of people who have nothing to do with Hezbollah lose their lives. That's not acceptable.
The Lebanese health ministry said Israeli military attacks killed at least 47 people in Lebanon Friday after Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah killed 4 Israeli soldiers. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
President Trump unveiled a new Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews on Friday. The luxury jet was donated by the government of Qatar. It's painted red, white, and blue, and with the words United States of America on the side. The plane is intended to bridge the gap between the 2 aging planes and 2 new planes Boeing is modifying. Today is Juneteenth, and the so-called grandmother of the holiday is inspiring demonstrations across the country. Civil rights leader Opal Lee's Freedom Walks take place in multiple cities, spanning 2.5 miles. That represents the 2.5 years between the Emancipation Proclamation and its enforcement in Texas. Juneteenth recognizes when slaves in Texas were told they were free in 1865. Well, Sacramento's arts organizations came together to celebrate Juneteenth. One of today's events started with an art walk that ended at the Sophia home of the B Street Theater. The free community event was a celebration honoring freedom, creativity, and Black culture. Coming up next, Bartell's Backroads takes us to an old mining town where visitors can still try their luck at striking it rich. You never know what you'll see on the backroads. Tonight, John Bartell takes us gold mining in Amador County to learn how early miners made their riches.
In 1868, author Bret Harte published The Luck of Roaring Camp, a tale about a rough mining camp transformed by an orphan child and some good fortune.
There's been tens of thousands of ounces pulled right out of this mountainside here, not only up and down the canyon, but just right here in this old mountainside.
Turns out Roaring Camp is a real place, and more than 150 years later, people are still chasing gold in these hills along the McCollum River in Amador County.
We're a recreational gold mining resort where people come and stay in their cabins and tent sites, and we teach them how to go gold mining, or they just come and swim and fish, hike, rock collect, metal detect, all on our property.
The Roaring Camp Mining Company is part gold mining camp, part family resort, and part history lesson. Third generation owner and general manager Ricky Leahy says the area was heavily mined from the gold rush era to World War II. Then his grandfather Elton Rodman bought the place.
And he actually worked down here when he was just a teenager, 19, 20 years old, for the Clinton Bar Mining Company. He sold magazines door to door, made a bunch of money, came back and bought the Clinton Bar Mining Company, renamed it Roaring Camp Mining Company, built 22 cabins and 8 campsites, and we've been doing that ever since.
Today, the gold mining is mostly done by tourists, armed with shovels, sluice boxes, and a serious case of gold fever.
That's what gold fever is right there. Look at her over there, digging that material, digging around those rocks, gonna break those rocks off.
For a week at a time, hopeful miners camp along the river, learning how to turn dirt into dollars.
Hey, don't be scared to get dirty.
This is a dirty job.
This is gold mining.
Roaring Camp provides all the equipment necessary to process the pay dirt and hopefully uncover a few shiny flakes.
See there? See that piece right there? See, there's the piece right there.
Oh, man.
See?
Modern equipment certainly helps, but original miners didn't have it so easy.
This was from the 49ers back during the gold rush. They couldn't dig the mountainside back, so they found a crack or crevice and they would follow it until it ended. And there's one of the tunnels right over here goes back over 650, and this one goes back 150 feet.
Back then, miners dug deep into the mountain by hand, chasing ancient riverbeds filled with gold deposits from millions of years ago. The guests here may get a taste of gold rush life during the day, but at night they return to furnished cabins, hot meals, and a riverside bar. At the end of the day, everyone weighs their gold findings.
The little tiny flakes in there are all worth $5 or $10 or $20 nowadays, when before they were only worth $1 or $2. So definitely recreational prospectors can come and easily make the much money as it costs to rent the cabin or make money finding gold for sure.
Bret Harte wrote about the legends and fortunes of Roaring Camp, but Ricky says the real success story might not be the miners at all.
The only people that made money during the gold rush were the ones mining the miners, the ones that ran the saloons and the hardware stores and that kind of thing.
Maybe we shouldn't say that so loud with these guys behind.
From Roaring Camp Mining Company along the McCollum River, I'm John Bartell. Hope to see you on the Backroads.
And just like many of those early miners, John Bartell also did not strike it rich that day. You can find more Bartell's Backroads destinations on the ABC 10 TV streaming app. They're all under the Shows tab. Scroll down to Travel, Bartell's Backroads. You can download the free app to your TV. Well, thanks so much for watching and inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, please reach out to us. You can email tothepoint@abc10.com. And remember, To the Point doesn't end here. To watch stories featured on the show, you can download our free ABC 10 streaming app to your TV. We wish you a happy Juneteenth, a happy Father's Day, and a happy first day of summer. Have a great and safe night and weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.